Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be talking about the Bourgeois Banjo Killer, custom one right here. We're going to talk about what is the Banjo Killer, the specs behind it, who needs one, and even talk a little bit about how it sounds and how it ranks in our system. And we're going to give you some player demos, so stick around for that. Well, we're back one more time to talk about guitars. Jeremy, your favorite subject.
Yeah, and especially ones that are known for murder.
Yeah, everybody has to have a killer guitar.
I've been watching a lot of Netflix episodes on what the mind of a killer, so I'd like to know what makes a guitar a banjo killer. What things happen to it?
Here's the real deal. Does anybody not recognize the need for a banjo killer?
I think the idea is it doesn't actually go out and murder banjos, but this one will compete with a banjo on a stage and maybe even surpass it in volume, and that's the goal behind it.
That is kind of the story. Before we get into all the details of this guitar, though, I do want to thank you guys for joining us. And if you have not yet done so, please do subscribe and like and all that kind of stuff, because we keep getting cool things in here, and we love to talk about them, and we love to hear from you guys what you guys love to hear. And then we get to talk about custom banjo killers.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff.
The Banjo Killer came out a long time ago, and this was actually kind of a cool story. I got to talk to Dana about this while we're up in Lewiston, Maine. There's a guy out there by the name of Brian Sutton.
Never heard of him.
He's an okay guitar player that has been
one of the greatest. He's a multi IBMA Guitar Player of the Year award winner. Really cut his teeth with Ricky Skaggs and the Kentucky Thunder, just blazing
now,
fast on the guitar.
Every session, anything with killer flat picking acoustic guitar sounds, this is your guy, and has been for a while.
And very influential for Bourgeois Dana. He worked
right.
directly with Dana on a lot of guitar design.
Including this one right here. And it started with Dana just telling us, we went out to dinner, and he was talking about how Brian actually was looking for his guitar for his Kentucky Thunder gig and found one in a music store that was a slope shoulder Bourgeois, and he fell in love with it, decided he had to get it, and it was his description: this thing is a banjo killer, meaning it doesn't literally murder banjos. It's just loud and powerful and stands up to. Everybody knows if you're in a bluegrass band.
They had Jim Mills playing at that time, right?
Yeah.
And that would have been some loud driving banjo.
Anybody that's in a band with bluegrass banjo players, especially as a flat picker, knows that is your big nemesis right there. It's hard to hear acoustic guitars, and over top of a banjo is even that much harder. So anything you can do to compete in that world, especially those of us who enjoy playing lighter in order to play cleaner and better.
You include yourself in that?
I do not, actually. I play
Brian
really,
Sutton
really
probably
hard.
would be in that.
He recognizes the good of that. I just bang the crap out of it.
As loud as you can play, the better.
But anyway, he found that, and then later started working with Dana, and they actually decided to go even further into that and create the ultimate guitar based on that original slope shoulder dread. And when doing so, what they do is they actually pick particular woods for this. And it's kind of counterintuitive to what I thought would be the thing that I would want in this. And those of you who follow Bourgeois guitars know that he's all about a focused, more detailed, clarity sound, and that's his thing. So what they actually started working with was stiffer tops, which was a surprise for me, and that's where these Bear Claw Sitka tops come in. They look for the stiffest of the stiff tops, and that's what kind of falls into a banjo killer guitar, because then they can work with it in order to make it do its thing, lighten it up and voice it and tap tone it and do the bourgeois thing that they all do over there and make it as big and lively as possible. So combining that with a figured mahogany back and sides with a very specific stiff Bear Claw Sitka top, that's what kind of gets you to a banjo killer. It's a cool thing. It's a very cool concept, and has actually become one of the most popular guitars for Bourgeois.
And it seems to be, effective where they're consistently a very loud, still have that Bourgeois tone where it's very even, but times 10 maybe volume-wise.
Yeah, there's no doubt this thing, it's going to jump out there. You want to hit it hard, it's going to do it. And even though it's a Sitka top, it reacts more like an Addy top, being that it is stiffer. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably its kind of main bonus there. Now, this one is a little bit different in that it's customized, and that we do have a different squared headstock. But most of the Banjo Killer models usually have this like snake one. So this one is different in that case.
So let's go through the standard specs that would be on this guitar.
Yeah, okay. So the specs of the Banjo Killer are a Bear Claw Sitka top with a figured mahogany back end sides. Sometimes you will see these in variations of that, but that is the main one. It'll be, again, a zircote bridge, a zircote fingerboard, which is common of most of the Bourgeois guitars. It is an 1'23" nut width, which is, again, right in that standard with Waverly tuners. In this case, it's going to have the Ivoroid buttons on them. I really, really do like that. Waverly tuners and the Ivoroid binding all the way around. It even has this kind of cool wood purfling to go along with it.
Always in a slope shoulder.
Always in a slope shoulder dread. As far as the scale length goes, it's going to be a 25.5, a standard dreadnought, which is different for slope shoulders. Usually are a short scale. This is going to be the long scale, giving it more power and more depth. It also has, which is unique to this, and was one of the first ones that really kind of did this, the Banjo killer bracing on this. It's still an X-braced guitar, but unlike the other Bourgeois guitars that are single scalloped, only done on the bass side, this is a double scalloped one, which he also does on a few other models. But this is where it really kind of became standard for them is now, and they call it the Banjo killer bracing, double scalloped. So this is different than the majority of Bourgeois guitars.
Of course, comes with a really nice hard shell case, lifetime warranty, all that stuff you get from Bourgeois.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, in this case, we now have a squared peg head instead of the snake one. I thought it kind of gives you guys who are traditional fans a little bit more of a nod to that. And, you know, I love the snake peg head, but I know there are a lot of people that also demand the squared peg head, and I also love both sides of those.
So let's talk about some of the other details. What price range would this one fall in?
Not the lowest, but that's to be expected. This is a custom-built guitar by Bourgeois. So let's kind of, start there. This one is going to be in the $7,000 range, and a little bit under in this configuration. We're going to be at $6,500. Again, this is a pretty standard pricing for a boutique-level mahogany guitar. Especially with this kind of bear claw figuring. I mean, you're at a boutique level instrument here, so it's not at the top of the range. We're not sitting in the tens. We're not over.
Not a lot
10,
of customizations as far as like bling and that sort of stuff, which you could do, I'm sure. But just as the standard model, it's meant to just project volume and tone, so maybe the price doesn't jump as much as a fancier looking or fancier wood selection might do.
That said, there's a lot of value here in that. If you're looking at boutique level guitars, we all know. I know for a lot of people out there that a $6,500 guitar is a very expensive guitar. It's for me as well. I don't go out and buy $7,000 guitars all the time. I don't know about the rest of you, but that's just not my thing. But in that world, if you were looking for one, you will know that a lot of these guitars sit closer into the 8s, 10s, and there's a lot of guitar right here. This thing is loud. It is powerful. It is in your face. So
with that price range, kind of like you said, it's not a completely entry-level guitar, but it's also not the most expensive you can get. Who is this guitar really built for, would you say?
I think when they designed this guitar, what they were really after was a performer, a professional level performer who's looking for that top-notch sound and power nobody else is going to have, and getting that in here. It's the story of this guitar speaks for itself. This was a built for stage level guitar to compete with the banjos and other acoustic instruments in a bluegrass band. If that is something that you're needing, you're not looking for all the bling and all the customizations that there. You just need that level of build quality that would be put into a guitar like this.
Yeah, and to really go to the point of playing with Skaggs, it wasn't just a banjo he was competing with. I think he had like 30 people in his band on stage at one
it's
point.
It's actually a bluegrass orchestra.
There was a loud stage volume there that Brian had to keep up with. So we already talked about, the volume obviously is one of the goals they had when they were building the Banjo Killer. Mm-hmm. And also we've done pretty extensive conversations about Dana's build and voicing. He's famous for voicing the tops of the guitar, looking for a very even volume and tone across all the different frequencies. How would you describe the sound of this guitar in particular compared to other Bourgeois guitars or compared to a Martin or a Eastman?
I think, again, the goal of this guitar and tone of this guitar is to be articulate and loud and detailed. It's like giving you everything full throttle. And to do that, those of us who have spent time looking at acoustics and looking at waveforms realize, low end is almost the thing that ruins your volume. It's perceived volume. High frequencies and mid range and that kind of stuff, when articulated well, come off as volume. They kind of give you that attack that you kind of need.
Especially a fast flat picker like
absolutely.
you might be, or
a Brian, or any of these other type of players. I mean.
You can hear every mistake. Great. That's that articulation there.
I love that.
Like, if this was a boomier guitar, that would have sounded really good.
It would have sounded all right.
No, but that's a good example. You're welcome. But that's a good example of,
I'm gonna go home now.
When you're a fast flat picker, you need that note separation to really make every note stand distinct from the next note.
What I was trying to point out there, if you didn't notice, was there was no overly. It was a very balanced sound all the way across. The lows came out as strong. They weren't woofy. They weren't chuffy. They weren't any of that kind of stuff. And yet it wasn't like it was lacking in the highs or back and forth. It seemed like wherever I went with this guitar, I had a pretty even amount of volume and an equal type of tone. And I think that's what he's kind of going for right here. It's still going to work well as a rhythm guitar because it has all that sustain. I mean, it's not like
the impressive thing there was, rhythm normally is like huge, and then you go to play lead, and all of a sudden you just shrink. When you jump back into lead, there wasn't a big volume change or frequency change. It didn't look like anything was lacking all of a sudden.
And I think, again, that's exactly the purpose of a guitar like this, is to kind of be competed. We're not trying to fill in the holes left by the other instruments in this particular case. We're trying to get something that just gets the guitar out there, which is just well known in a ensemble group to kind of get buried by other instruments, and this is what this is all about, and does it well. I'm really, really impressed with the overall tone of this guitar and the feel of it. So,
would you say there are any comparisons that people might be familiar with if they played a J45 slope shoulder or Martin Dreadnought? Is it kind of a combination of the two? Or is it in a league of its own the way they designed it?
So comparison-wise, you would think that this would be more of a slope shoulder J45 type of guitar, and you'd be wrong. It's not that. It has that look, but it is not designed to be that guitar. I want to say this is a well-balanced Martin-ish type of sound in the D18. The 18s that a lot of us are looking for. Not necessarily a pre-war sounding 18, but that older, drier, 50s, 60s variation of that, maybe, and again, with its own voicing. So yes, a little bit of both. It's in a league of its own, but if we're going to put it into a box, that's probably the direction I would probably head with it. So don't think J45 when you're thinking of this guitar.
Let's go to our rating system here and kind of get some of your specs and see what you think of it. We'll start out with tone overall. On a scale of 1 to 5 and a guitar in this price range and this kind of Dreadnought, obviously, comparison, where would you put this tone-wise?
I'm a big fan of this guitar, and I've played a few of these. This one actually is just very, very lively. I'm going to have to go with, for what its space is and what it's trying to do at this price point, it's an easily 4 to 4.5 star kind of level guitar. It really is, especially knowing what it is you're looking for out of the guitar. Again, if I'm coming in here looking for a boomy 18 that just kind of roars and rattles my teeth, not there. If I'm looking for something with projection, which is exactly what I would want to kind of do for an 18 to be different in my tonal palette, I would put this in that kind of level.
And then setup and playability on the guitar. And I know this is going towards Dana. His team out there is passionate about setup. Mm-hmm. How do you think this guitar falls in this price range?
This is, I've recently bought a Bourgeois of my own. I have to say it's one of the first guitars that I did zero setup changes for a player at my level. or in my style. I would my level. But it really is set up well. Everything is evenly placed. Some people may think it's stiff. Others will think that it's a little bit low. But again, for a player that's playing a moderate heavy to heavy hand, I think this one is set up almost perfect. So I'm going to, again, have to give it about a 4.5.
So then build quality, I think this is probably going to be a pretty good score because we're talking about a boutique builder here. This is one of the guys that's got a reputation for some of the best build quality out there.
Again, it's well known that Dana Bourgeois does not believe in seconds. He does not believe in factory seconds. He doesn't leave anything doesn't come out unless it's right. And there's nothing in here that I can find a flaw in here. So as far as build quality, you're at a 5. There's just not anything that's on this that is wrong.
Nothing lacking.
No, I mean the wood choices, the control over even how they put together the two pieces of wood and make sure there's no bleed out. They're very meticulous in how they put together these guitars, and every detail is paid attention to.
And that probably leads to the next one, aesthetics. So you said 5 on build quality. Aesthetics, look and appearance of the guitar.
So this is a very subjective
category.
deal. All right. So I'm gonna do it as if it were me. Okay.
It is you.
I'm not a slope shoulder fan. I do like the add-on of the square peg head. For me, it brings it back. I like a slope shoulder. Don't get me wrong. But if you were going to go, John, build me a guitar that you would want, it's not that. So in that case, I would be there. But man, look at the woods. I mean, look at the bear claw in this whole deal. The pickguard shapes okay. So
the funny thing about Bourgeois, and it's a little side thing, but they even spend time beveling the edges of the pickguard. They're talking about aesthetics.
Recoloring it and all that after it's been poured. Very, very fussy about it. Again, not my personal style as much on that, but I do like the add-on of the peghead. I love Ivoroid buttons. So in that way, I'm going to give it a 3.75.
All right. That's a good score you got going there. And then finally, overall value of the guitar. And this, again, is subjective to where you are as a player and what your budget is. But for the price they're asking for this guitar, compared to other manufacturers in that same price range, what would you say the overall value is?
So the value of this guitar, there's not much to say bad about this. Again, it is not priced so high that you can't, in its market, this is a boutique level guitar, and we all kind of now expect things to sit in the $4,000 to $7,000 for starting levels of boutique level guitars. So in that case, with the quality of woods that are in here, the tone properties, the playability, all those things factored in together, it's easily a 4-star level instrument.
Okay, so finally, the thing that people are wondering the most, they came here for this exact thing. What does it sound like? Let's give them some tone samples and love to hear what you guys think. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Bourgeois Banjo Killer. We definitely murdered some guitar or banjos here today with this guitar, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, we have another really cool video on a great guitar that was custom built that I like a lot. It had some really cool bear claw. Oh, yeah. That is the 00 that we have from Bourgeois, and we got a video of it. You can click it right here or just sit around and hopefully it'll start right next. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time.